Ladies and gentlemen, please return to your seats and we will start soon. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I hope you are feeling refreshed for the final day of the AFC Member Associations and Regional Associations Presidents and General Secretaries Conference 2024. Yesterday was filled with enriching discussions, starting with insights on building high-performance organizations and leadership in football. We also explored the role of football in shaping performance both on and off the field, along with an exciting look into the ambitious Saudi Arabia FIFA World Cup 2034 bid. There were also valuable lessons on how entrepreneurial thinking can transform football management, and we ended the day reflecting on how historical leadership shaped the foundation of modern football governance. As we enter the final day of the conference, it's my pleasure to welcome our first speaker, Mr. Harun Malik, the chairperson of the Pakistan Football Federation's Normalization Committee. He will be sharing a case study on a decade-long struggles of Pakistani football. Welcome, Mr. Harun. You have the floor.
General Secretary AFC, Datuk Seri Windsor John, President KFA, Mr. Chung Mon Gyu, respected presidents and general secretaries and honored guests. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak about Pakistan football. I know that it's a subject that often comes up. With the normalization process running for the last 5 years, there's a lot of information that perhaps we're not aware of. So, sticking with the theme of the workshop reform, I would like to take the opportunity today to have a candid discussion about Pakistan football with the hope that some of the challenges that we've faced, some of the solutions that we've come up with will somehow benefit or allow you to look at your federation from a new perspective. On January 26, 2021, I took charge as the chairman of the Normalization Committee for Pakistan Football Federation. Fully 2 months into the role, I was attacked in my office. So as I'm sitting there and working, all of a sudden I hear a commotion, and pretty soon a large group of people bursts into my room asking me to sign over the accounts, to hand over Pakistan Football Federation, and to leave the affairs of football to them. Which is what I should have done. But in that moment, something snapped, and I refused. I said, no, do whatever you want. There is no way that I'm signing over the accounts to you. So I've thought about that many times. This was also not the only time that I was threatened or attacked. Since then, I've been fighting court cases. I've had police cases filed against me. I've had religious decrees filed against me. And honestly, I'm really not that bad a person. And so I think back to that day and to the events that keep transpiring. And I realize that it was not me that they were attacking. And we heard this from one of our August speakers yesterday as well. So when you change, beneficiaries of the old system become your enemies. And this is exactly what was happening. And so we were moving from an organization that was run as a personal fiefdom to something where we were enforcing rules, regulations, and being professional in our approach to dealing with football. And fundamentally, the reason why Pakistan football is where it is today is an issue of governance. Governance and development. And so let me take you back and start this study from a few years before so that we can set the context and understand the actions that led up to the formation of a normalization committee. So normally, we say that for football development, it's important to have a stable management and for the sport to matter in the country. Well, we had the same management team from 2003 to 2019, 16 years. So checkbox number 1, tick. And the sport is extremely popular in the country of 250 million people. And the genesis of Pakistan football is with Pakistan. So in 1947, Pakistan was established, and the Pakistan Football Federation was signed into existence the same year by the founding father of the nation. In 1948, we were able to obtain membership of FIFA, and we've been a founding member of the AFC and the South Asian Football Federation. In Pakistan, the sport of football is extremely popular. Yes, we're a cricket-first nation. It runs in our blood. Football, though, is played from mountains to the sea, from east to west, across the country. And we find that younger audiences resonate more with football than they do with cricket. And if we look at the numbers, the social media reach of our accounts on a monthly basis is 5 million, and our total media reach is about 64 million on an annualized basis. So football is an extremely popular sport in the country, and this is why having leverage in football provides you power and influence within the society. And I think this is why we continue to see crises. And our crises have been severe. So I asked Fred yesterday if I could use his term. And yellow, we've received multiple red cards. So we've been suspended in 2017. We were suspended again in 2021. We have a normalization committee now running for more than 5 years. We barely played any football. leading up to the normalization process, a total of 6 international games in 7 years. Only the men's team. The women's team wasn't even playing. And even though I was attacked, this was not the first time that there was a physical attack on the football house. Maybe I should have been better prepared for it. So while I speak about all of these crises, what are the factors that cause them? And for Pakistan, I think they're interesting, and one of the contributing factors is actually what we would call the stable management. I will also walk you through the role of PFF in creating these crises, and then I will talk to you about the events of 2015 that led to the Normalization Committee being established in 2019. So stable management is a fantastic thing if it is benevolent and geared towards football. If the management is entrenched for reasons that it was propagating its own self, then that stable management is not good for football. And this is what we've seen. The PFF itself. So our past president, as I mentioned, was in the role for 16 years, from 2003 to 2019. During a large part of this period, our president was also a sitting minister in the National Assembly. And perhaps it is not a coincidence that if you look in the last column on the slide, I have highlighted the role of government interference in our Congress. So the Pakistan Football Federation Congress is 26 members. Out of those 26 members, the ones that are highlighted in orange are government representatives, so 8. The way that we structured our competitions in the past, the women's champion also always came from the government, so 9. And the 3 women's representatives that were assigned was also from the government. A senator, a politician, or somebody else that was from the government. So out of 26 Congress members, we built a structure for 12 votes belonging to the government. And we built this very specifically because as a sitting minister in the government, those votes are yours. We also, at that time, used the statutes to consolidate all power into the position of the president. So the EXCO met twice a year, as per the statutes. In actual fact, I don't know. There was a concept of an emergency committee, and all decisions, operational or strategic, were taken by the president. The statutes were also used to decide who could contest for the president. And out of a country of 250 million people, maybe not even a handful of people could qualify for the position of president. And this was another way to consolidate power and to propagate the concept of staying in power. And this is where eventually it all came to a head. So the events of 2015 are when the house of cards tumbled. And so I will share with you what happened. So even though it's a little complicated, it's spread out a little bit, I will try and condense it as much as possible so we can follow along with the events that happened, starting from the federal elections when Pakistan football imploded. So 2015 was the year when the football elections on the regular pace were supposed to happen. As many of you might be aware, we have multiple provinces, and one of them is the province of Punjab. So as in the past, the then president appointed his own people into each of the provincial associations and announced who the provincial association will be. The difference, though, in Punjab that happened this time was there was a very strong mandate for someone else to become the president of Punjab, and in utter disregard for the popular mandate, the then president announced his own person as the president of Punjab. Naturally, the other party went to court and obtained a stay order against the election process. So now, Pakistan Football Federation, from the court, is prohibited to conduct elections, and no points for guessing, but we went ahead with the electoral process. We announced the results of Punjab. We held elections for the EXCO, and the then president announced himself as the winner, as a successful candidate. It is brilliant that FIFA and the AFC supports their member associations. But to bank on that support, to take on a fight with the government, perhaps is not the reason why that support is provided. Of course, the courts were not happy, and they came back with a very strong reaction. So they said that the elections are not valid. They appointed a court administrator, and all the affairs of Pakistan football were then handed over to the court administrator. This includes FIFA funds, AFC funds, and PFF funds that the court administrator then spent over the next 2.5 years, but we'll get to that. So the court appointed an administrator. The PFF, the past president, recognized by the FIFA and the AFC, moved into a rental property, and now there are 2 PFFs being run. And in August 2015, a mission came to Pakistan, and they said that what has happened is wrong. They recognized that it happened because of poorly drafted statutes, and they asked that the statutes be changed and a proper electoral process be conducted. No ban on PFF. So PFF is being run by a court-appointed administrator. And so 2 years were given to the PFF leadership to make the changes. At the end of that 2-year period, PFF questions the decision of FIFA. And says, how can you interfere in our internal affairs? We had an election. We're supposed to be here for 4 years. How can you limit our mandate to 2? But in those 2 years, we did nothing on the statutes. We did nothing on the electoral process. We didn't negotiate with the courts, with the government, with anybody to move them out, to gain control back. But all we cared about at the end of 2 years was that my mandate is for another 2. So it was then recommended that the Faisal-led PFF, and we have to say that because the court is leading PFF. And so the Faisal-led PFF was given another 2 years to do the same things that hadn't been done in the previous 2. Also, court hearings were held in August, September, October 2017 with no result, which ended up in FIFA suspending PFF in October 2017. Based on the court administrator being appointed. And once the suspension was served, Pakistan Football Federation received its premises back. The court administrator was removed after 5 months. And the then president is now back in Football House. But it took 2 years for that suspension, after which 5 months later the House was back. Okay. So now, the Faisal-led PFF has Football House, has control of the accounts, has control of football in the country, and they're supposed to work on the statutes and conduct fresh elections, which, again, did not happen. And then the courts intervened again. And in 2018, the courts asked that the elections for PFF be conducted within the court premises, which happened. And then a new body was formed. So after enjoying 15 years of privilege, the president once again handed over PFF, the accounts, the Football House, to this body that was elected by the courts, and once again moved into rented premises. And we continue to recognize the Faisal-led body, while the Supreme Court appointed body for all the funds they utilized during that period, 64% were put into personal bank accounts. So this group, the Ashfaq Shah group, is exactly the group that attacked me, because this is how they had come into power before, with no consequence. In May 2019, so 5 months, 6 months into the parallel association being in charge, a mission was sent to Pakistan who rightly determined that things had reached such an impasse that it is not possible for the PFF to conduct its elections, and that a normalization committee, a normalization process needs to be started, and a normalization committee needs to be put into place. So the normalization, the decision to go into a normalization process happened after years of action and inaction in certain cases by the Pakistan Football Federation. So I can blame FIFA and the AFC and the courts and the government, but the truth of the matter is that this was on us, on PFF to do the right things. And if we had done the right things, we would not be in this problem. And so began the normalization process. And like any sane person, FIFA and AFC took 2 candidates from the opposing camps and put them together with an independent chairman, hoping that they would be able to sit at the table, negotiate, and resolve whatever the issues were, and come up with a middle-of-the-road solution that worked for everybody. What we saw in reality, though, was that that did not happen. They could not see eye to eye. There was too much bad blood. And those meetings, most of the time, ended up in shouting matches and fights. In the 1.5 years that the Normalization Committee was there, the decision they took was to do away with all district and provincial associations and appoint their own people. So now we have a country of 240 million people with no district, no provincial football administration. The chair of the Normalization Committee resigned in December 2020. A new person was appointed as the chair, and in the 1 month that he was there, his only decision was to overturn the decisions of the previous normalization committee. And this is where I naively stepped in. So we started off as a group of 5, and very soon, one of our members was let go. And so before I go into the details of what happened, I think it's very important to see how we've spent those more than 5 years in the normalization process. So starting in September 2019 to December 2020 was the first normalization committee. The mandate was then extended a third time till 30th June 2021, and I joined on the 26th of Jan 2021. After that, for the next 3 extensions, Pakistan Football Federation was suspended before it was finally, on the 30th of June 2022, the suspension was lifted, and that is when work in earnest began. Just before moving off this slide, it is not surprising to me that FIFA and AFC did not know about the electoral process in Pakistan and how long it takes before the normalization committee was appointed. But a year and a half of normalization did not show us that as per the statutes, the electoral process is 9 months, and therefore I was given 5. And I think this shows us what the first normalization committee never got around to, which was beginning the electoral process. So what did we inherit? Well, we inherited the support of FIFA and the AFC, for which I am very grateful. Because FIFA and the AFC continue to believe in Pakistan football when Pakistan does not believe in Pakistan football. And this is truly remarkable and a blessing for all of us. Other than that, I inherited 3 employees, an office that had been ransacked with not a single document or paper present in it. In fact, the fittings had been broken, the blinds had been torn, it had been destroyed. More than that, we inherited negativity about the normalization process and a complete lack of trust in elections in Pakistan football. And again, as I mentioned, we were attacked. And we were attacked because when I started, naturally I called in employees and I started getting telephone calls from across the country. This is the son of so-and-so, you must keep him, he's a very good person. And I walked them out the door. Many people came up to me, you're supposed to pay me X amount of money every month because we hold tournaments for you. And when I found out, I walked them out the door. And many other such examples. As I mentioned, once we had control back of Football House and our accounts, the suspension was lifted. And since that time, I can tell you that the results we've delivered have been extraordinary. And I do not believe that anybody could have done what we've done. It's not great that it took us 76 years, but for the first time in 76 years, we won a World Cup qualifier event. For the first time in 76 years, we won an Olympic qualifier event. This win was delivered by our women's national team, which had not been playing for the last 8 years. And so we reactivated women's football. And then we did a whole host of other activities over this 2.5-year period, in spite of the fact that we're on restricted funding and we have issues with our funding models. On the governance side, we instituted a dispute resolution mechanism, which I will explain a little later, has taken away third-party interference from PFF. We started building the organization from 3 employees. We are now up to about 40, including our contractual and technical. And the biggest thing we did was the implementation of a digital registration platform, FIFA Connect ID, which is the most amazing thing that you can do, and it really changed everything for us. We've been on restricted funding since 2011, and this is the first time that as an NC, we were able to bring financial transparency with not a single red flag against any of our audits. And most importantly, we started educating the community about its rights and obligations. So elections really have taken the bulk of this time. It's been 2.5 years of full-time work that we've been doing, and only now are we at the finish line for the normalization process. And the reason why is because of 3 things. It's the PFF Constitution, it's the fact that we started from zero, and it is the trust deficit that exists within the community. And let me tell you about the time traps in the Constitution. So there are 4. Club, voting right, electoral process, and how the Congress is formed. And for a club, it is the simplest requirement in the world. You have 20 players and 3 officials. You have your own statutes. You have a bank account, and you're registered with a government body. We went over the electoral list from 2015. 2,100 clubs had voted, and less than 1% of those clubs fulfilled any of these requirements. So when we asked clubs to register, of course, there was a huge trust deficit. They said there's no benefit to registration. We started the digital registration drive, and everybody told me, Harun, you're mad. In a country like Pakistan, you expect everybody to register digitally. Well, today we have 2,000 plus players and officials registered on the platform, and this has been the game changer in conducting elections. It's a brilliant system. Once we had the clubs registered, the second issue is of voting rights. Voting rights for clubs are very simple. The club needs to be an active club, which means participated in the district championship and played 90%. Had there ever been a district championship or a league? As you might recall from earlier, the first NC had done away with all district and provincial administration. So again, it fell to us as an NC to conduct district championships across the country, as the round for club scrutiny. So here's the electoral process for Pakistan football. First, you have the clubs, which I just told you we've now done. We're now doing the APDC, so we're awarding all Pakistan district championship. We're doing the APDC, so now we're awarding voting rights. And we have to conduct elections for Pakistan Football Referees Association. We have to have a women's championship to determine who the women's representative will be. I have to assign 3 women as members of the Congress, and then all the departments need to play a championship to determine who gets voting rights. So rather than sending out a person to each district that would be abducted by the powerful in that district and would come back with an election that happened in their drawing rooms, I conducted WhatsApp elections. This was the best thing ever. At less than 20% of the cost of holding elections through a ballot box, and in less than 30% of the time, we conducted these elections, and we were able to do them because through Pakistan Football Connect, which is FIFA Connect ID, we had everybody's registered numbers. We knew who the presidents were. We were communicating with them for the last 2 years. We sent them the list of the candidates in their area. We said, take a picture of your ID card, record a video of yourself saying who you are voting for, and type out who you voted for and send it to us. And we took all of this in. I have 100% verifiable, traceable results for the district football electoral process. And no matter how much everybody hated that I did this, people from across the country have come to my office to say, I've been in football for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and I just wanted to shake your hand because this is the first time that I've ever voted. So again, thinking outside the box. So we know who the clubs are. We've now conducted district elections. During this period, we also conducted elections for the Pakistan Football Referees Association. Again, this was the first time their elections were ever held. We've conducted the Women's Championship during the same time, so we know who the vote is. We've already started interviewing for the women's representatives, and we've also conducted the departmental championship to know who the departments are. And the last thing left is now the elections for the provinces and the territories. And I'll share a very short video with you.
After months of groundwork, the Pakistan Football Federation's Normalization Committee successfully progressed to the provincial football elections, marking a significant milestone on September 19 and 20. Dedicated staff facilitated a smooth voting process by checking ID and guiding voters, while election officers ensured transparency during the ballot counting. Following the final checks by the election commissioner, the results were announced. Chairperson Haru Malik, leading the Normalization Committee, declared the elections a success, emphasizing professionalism and outlining the next steps to restore governance. He also expressed gratitude to the football community for their continued support.
So provincial elections were held in person through a ballot box process. They went off fantastically well. Both the losing and the winning parties went on media, on record, to say that this was the most transparent election ever. What is interesting, though, is that the folks that were losing power waited till the last day and filed 13 court cases to stop the elections from happening all across the country. We actively contested every single court case, and the decision that we got was because PFF has a strong dispute resolution mechanism, because they fall under FIFA, therefore the local courts do not take decisions in these matters. Please go back to your own body. And this was a game changer. Nobody expected this, and we were able to proceed with the provincial elections. So currently, we're on track to complete our mandate. This month, all the provincial election, the tied seats, the vacant seats, everything will be completed. Once the new Congress is in, we're asking them to change the statutes partially to allow us to conduct elections for the position of the president. Otherwise, that's another 3-4 month process. As of now, on the 9th of December, we will hold elections for the EXCO, and we will hand over to the new body before the 15th of December. And then I finally get to go home. But we've been in this process for 5 years. I think the biggest legacy that we leave behind is that FIFA and AFC have shown what is possible in Pakistan football through all the achievements that have happened. So yes, we can have transparency, fairness, equity, we can have an electoral process, we can play the game, we can participate globally, we can win a World Cup qualifier, we can have administrative reform. Also, before the NC, less than half of the country was included in the electoral processes of Pakistan football. Less than half the country. Because everybody that wasn't a part of the party, they were not invited. So for the first time, all of Pakistan is now participating. At the end, I will leave you with 3 big questions. What prevents this from happening again in Pakistan? What prevents this from happening anywhere? And if it ever does, and I hope it never does, how do we normalize faster? Thank you very much for your time and attention. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harun, for sharing the insights into the challenges and lessons learned throughout this journey. With that, we would now like to open the floor for questions.
Good morning. First of all, Harun, congratulations on the work well done, almost done. And I appreciate and really commendable resilience from your side, from the Normalization Committee and from you as well. But I have a question. From your presentation that we found out, there was a court-appointed administrator. There was elections held by the court within the court premises. I'm just surprised to see that the federation wasn't immediately suspended by FIFA or any other governing body for that matter. Would you know the reason as to why the PFF avoided suspension in these situations in the past?
Okay. So I hope your question is not focused on how we avoided the suspension. That's just a joke. But as to why we were not suspended by FIFA and the AFC, I think I will allow them to answer at some point in the future when they're so ready. But from what I've understood in these last 4 or 5 years, because I've been dealing with the government, with the court systems, we've been having all these fights, I believe the onus lies on PFF to say that this has happened and to request for action. And so if we don't communicate clearly, honestly, and transparently, then how can we expect any action to be taken? So again, throughout the presentation, what I've tried to show is that I can blame somebody else, but the truth is I must take responsibility for my actions. So I'm not sure why it wasn't suspended, but what I can be certain of is that the messaging from our side would not have been clear. I hope that.
Thank you. Do we have other questions for Mr. Harun?
Hello. Harunji, thank you so much. It's so insightful. The journey that you've gone through, tremendous. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
First normalization committee chairman resigned. Second one resigned. People were not able to take up the challenge. You took up that challenge and you succeeded. In 76 years, bringing in 2 qualifications, tremendous.
Thank you.
It shows that leadership is so important. And one of the questions I'm going to ask you is the question you asked us about, will that happen again in Pakistan? And what is going to prevent it from happening in Pakistan? Because you've shown great leadership. But I was made to understand that as a normalization chairman, you will not have the option of standing for elections as a president, which is actually very, very strange because you are a Pakistani and you have done so much for football. So, I mean, can you give me your views on this? Because from our side, you've done such a fantastic job. Leadership is important. You've achieved what most presidents have not been able to achieve. But yet you had the situation where actually things could go back to what it was before, because you and I understand how things work.
Yeah. Thank you. And that is why I left the 3 big questions to you, because they're really hard questions. My view on this, though, is that we are not far enough removed from that mindset that this may never happen again. So right now, as I mentioned, FIFA AFC funds have been misused by various parties. And what action has happened? Nil. So what is the consequence? Nothing. So who is now interested in coming into power? That's one. I think the second is that in certain circumstances, we cannot depend on the good offices of that particular institution to transmit information transparently. And so mechanisms need to be put in place where that is being taken care of. I think with the advent of technology, with the advent of AI, having centralized dashboards, reporting systems, mechanisms that allow us to look at leading indicators versus lagging indicators is imminently possible. And I think over the short to medium term, so 2 to 5 years, that's the direction we should be moving in. So, thank you.
Just a follow-up question or suggestion, because in Bhutan, what we've done is that through the government process, we've made it mandatory for politicians and government officials not being allowed to be a part of the sporting associations and federations. So country to country specific, if interference of politicians and government officials is an issue, is there a process where Pakistan can start through the changes in rules where politicians and bureaucrats will not be allowed to be a part of your sporting associations?
I think the most important thing is to first remove government interference from the PFF statutes. Right now, half the vote in the PFF Congress belongs to the government, and that is by design. If we change one thing in the statutes, that should be the thing that we change. And then beyond that, as to who is eligible to contest or not, I think that's a conversation perhaps to happen at a later stage. Today, I can tell you that all of them are who are eyeing PFF and vying for that position already. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Do we have further questions for Mr. Harun? Okay. With that, we would now like to invite Tan Sri Dato Hamidin bin Haji Mohamad Amin, FIFA Council member, to the stage for pennant presentation. Thank you very much, Tan Sri Dato Hamidin and Mr. Harun. You may take your seats. Thank you very much. Before we move on, we would like to remind everyone that you have a feedback form on each seat, and it would be great if you could take a moment to fill it out and help us improve for the further conferences. Your input is very much appreciated. We will now take a short break and reconvene at 11:15 sharp. After the break, we will have a panel discussion featuring leaders from across the world, so stay tuned.
This is the 18th edition of the AFC Asian Cup. 5 cities hosting 51 matches across the next. Great looking ball in, simple chance, control of it, and Jackson Irvine taking control of the game.
That's it. There's the opening goal for Japan. You have Takumi Minamino. It's looped in. An incredible goal.
Hong Kong China level just 3 minutes after the break. It is the second round of group matches starting, and here is the group start. Ahmed Yahya, one real option. He's found that option. That is absolutely extraordinary play. And Indonesia have the lead into the area, placing it into the bottom corner. And Iran have got the opening goal. Ali Madan! 5 minutes into injury time. Oman have the lead.
magnificent Ahmed bin Ali Stadium. It's a superb finish for the Hassan El match. Korea punished for giving it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, kindly be seated and we will start soon. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, appreciate if you could return to your seats as we will be starting very, very shortly. Thank you very much. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, we have the highly anticipated panel discussion moderated by Mr. Alex Phillips, who has over 25 years of experience working at the highest levels of global football. With an extensive background in sports business and governance, he brings a wealth of knowledge to today's discussion. Welcome, Alex. Please join us on the stage. Joining Alex will be Dr. Sir Windsor John, the AFC General Secretary. Ms. Kanya Kelmani, FIFA Council Member. Mr. Razwan Burlianu, FIFA Council Member and President of Romanian Football Federation. Mr. Frederic Guillemot, Chief Operating Officer of the Oceania Football Confederation. And Mr. Enter Isaac, President of Football Australia. They will be sharing insights on building and leading great organizations. Alex, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? First of all, thanks to Victoria. I think she's done a fantastic job of emceeing so far. I mention that because when I was at AFC, I was at AFC for 4 years. She was helping me all the time, doing a fantastic job. So, first of all, on my side, many thanks to AFC for this invitation to me, but also for organizing this event. Many thanks to Korea FA for being a fantastic host. Briefly, myself, 25 years in football, in international football. I'm currently the administrator to the World Football Remission Fund, FIFA, CONMEBOL and CONCACAF, and I also am lucky enough to work with AFC to help design and deliver these ACE programs. This event has been so far fantastic. In my view, we've had some incredible speakers. I can't summarize everything that's been said because there have been too many interesting points. But just as an example, the presentation this morning, I think we don't often see these types of presentations with such level of detail, such a level of honesty, because it's very easy to organize conferences or to organize academic programs like we do and simply pass the message that everything is fine, that everything is going very well. No, as has been pointed out by Dato Sri in his presentation, governance reform is not something that happens once and then it's done forever. It's something that needs to be happening again and again. I would also highlight the presentation of UEFA simply because I had the chance myself to work with Mr. Gerhard Eigner. And there are certain people in football. I know when I was at AFC, I never had the chance to meet former General Secretary Dato Paul. But you know, when people speak about certain individuals, they command respect and emotion from the people that had the luck to work with them and to make a difference, to allow us all to be here today. So, I won't go on any longer. These are my opening remarks. I was going to introduce all the panelists, but I think nearly all of them have already presented, and you know all of them. We have a range of different views, national, everyone has a national position, international positions, regional, continental, and global. So we have regional association views, confederation views, FIFA views. And I'm going to open the floor with an open question to all of the panelists, if you don't mind asking. I'll start with Dato Sri. The conference subject is building and leading great organizations. So I ask you if you can give everybody here an insight into what you think are the 2 or 3 most important elements in building and leading great organizations. Dato Sri.
Thank you, Alex. Good morning, everyone. I would start with, of course, a clear vision. I think any great organization's vision, we all will be able to see the vision. Probably a strong purpose behind it and built on strong values. And then I would go to having the right talent and structure within that organization. And of course, then having a culture of empowering the talent to deliver the vision and the mission. I think I would just, at a very high level.
Excellent, thank you very much. Ms. Kanya?
Okay, good morning, everyone. Well, actually, we've been listening to all these great presentations from the past few days. For me, I'm from the Lao Football Federation. For us, we actually, like I agree with Dr. Windsor said, we need to have the clear vision, structures, and all that. Actually, for us, the structures, the guideline, policy, regulations, we have FIFA, AFC, AFF to be our guidance and guideline. However, with all this strong structure, you need the people within the federation, within your organizations to drive these structures, to drive this direction. So I think for Lao Football Federation, it's the people that is really important, that you would have enough what Razvan mentioned yesterday, enough desperation, aspiration, as well as the inspiration and motivation enough to drive these organizations.
Okay, thank you. Razvan, and you can pick the national perspective or the global perspective, as you prefer.
Much more easy to speak about Romania than to have a global perspective, even if I'm sitting in the FIFA Council. But traveling so much in Asia, I think that day by day, I have a better knowledge also about AFC, talking a lot about it with Datuk Seri, with Vahid, and so on. First of all, yesterday, I mentioned 3 topics that are very, very important. One is the culture, the second is the innovation, and the third one is represented by the capabilities. But at the same time, I have to share with you that it depends about the development stage of every federation, which means that the foundation in every federation has to be based on the vision. And I enhance what Datuk Seri and what Kanya mentioned. Because without a very clear vision, with strong values and principles, under a very clear strategy, you cannot perform. And why I want to enhance that the values and principles are the most important? Because especially now, we are living in a fast-changing environment with many, many crises. If in the past maybe we will face a crisis at every 20 years, now, unfortunately, we have to face a crisis, and I understood much better all the Asian context during these visits that I had. You have a crisis, or you have more crises in a year, which means that to be able to follow your vision under your clear strategy, you have to have strong principles and values, because the principles and the values will help you to take the most difficult decisions. And for sure, I will be more than happy to share with you personal experience during these 10 years leading my federation, when, in the most difficult moments, I came back to the values and principles.
Okay, thanks very much. Fred?
So, all the key points that have been already presented and discussed just now are true and valid. And I think in addition to that, it's to create a culture where there's trust. Trust about the stakeholders, trust the federation or the confederation, your fan, but also internally, that you have a clear direction to create trust within your staff members, with your board members. And what does it mean to create trust? Create trust is also, it will help people to express themselves, be entrepreneur, be innovative. So trust is very important. And often we go more transactional. We focus on our process, we focus on what needs to be done. But if people trust you, everything is easier. Everything, and you can face any crisis, you can adapt. Trust is very important, I think.
Thanks, Anta.
It's on? It's on, sorry. Thank you, Alex. It's a bit hard to answer after the previous 4, and I support and agree completely with everything that's already been said by Datuk Seri, Kanya, Razvan, and Fred. So I'm going to have to come at it at a bit of a different angle, because they took all the good answers. But I try to think about 3 things that any organization needs to have in its people. And it's 3 really characteristics. One is to have people that are grateful. Okay, grateful people tend to be more positive. They tend to see the glass half full, not a glass half empty. Grateful people will be more careful, because they don't want to lose the opportunity that they've been given. Ungrateful people are more careless, okay? So the first thing is to have an organization full of people that are grateful. The second thing is to have people in the organization that are curious, okay? Curious people are the people that are going to seek to learn, that are going to seek to do things differently, maybe better next time, that are going to ask more questions than have answers, okay? And that, I think, at least from my perspective and observation, creates a culture which is always striving for more learning, always trying to find out if there's a different way of doing things. The third thing is to have people in an organization that have discipline. I think discipline is really important because the ability to say no to distractions, the ability to understand sometimes that we have to do what's in the best interests of the collective, not rather just the individual. So I'd probably say those three things, in addition to everything what everyone else has said. People who are grateful, people who are curious, people who have discipline.
Great, thanks very much. It's great to have your perspective.
Thank you.
And some themes are already coming up, some common themes. Razvan, please. This is interactive, so if you have a comment, please jump in.
I would like to add something more, because in general, when we're in this kind of meetings, workshops, conferences, and for sure also when we're in the offices, we like to dream as managers. But at the same time, you don't have to forget that you have to deliver day by day in your federation. For sure, it's very nice to have a dream and to dream together with your organization, which means that I would like to enhance another characteristic, which will help for sure your organization to not deviate. And this is the quality management system which you have to have in place. As such, quality management system means, first of all, a very good ability for planning, for implementing, reporting, plus controlling. So without this structure, you are not able to dream and to achieve your dreams. So this was what I wanted to add, because sometimes we as managers, we have to deliver on the short term, on the medium, but also on the long term.
Mm-hmm. Very good, thanks. This summarizes, I think, also the tension between the long-term objectives and the short-term objectives. The technical director is scouting, recruiting players, developing young players for 10 years' time. The head coach needs to get the result now, next weekend, and you have to succeed in both, right? It's not one or the other. So the vision is something that stays there. You don't necessarily know how football will become the #1 sport across all countries in Asia, which is one of the AFC's vision points, but you know that's what you're working towards, and you will get there somehow. The other point we will come back to is about people, as you said, Kenneth, and structures. You need great people and you need great structures. It's not one or the other, okay? But there will be many more points we will come back to. Second question I had for you, and this we can go in any order, so please jump in, is in your view, to make this practical, which organizations would you cite? Which one or two organizations would you cite, whether it's inside football, sport, or outside, as being great organizations? We don't have to go in order, so maybe we go in reverse order. Anta.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. There's one organization that I think we, and it's not from football, it's a different sport, but when you look at the body of work that this organization has done for a long time, it's really incredible. And I'm talking about, it's a US sport, it's the National Football League, the NFL. And I look at what they've done, and I'm going to share with you a few things. In 1962, okay, so 62 years ago now, they established a subsidiary called NFL Films. NFL Films also, basically the job was to capture content. Before a game, at halftime, during the week, everything. They also hired story writers, right? 1962. Think about now, 62 years after, what we're all doing. They also hired a musical composer, someone called Samuel Spence, and he would write original scores for all their NFL films. So for the last 62 years, they've been building content, okay? Not only that, in 1979, they decided, why should we have one broadcaster? What we're going to do is we're going to break all our assets up, sell them to different broadcasters to create competitive tension, okay? And create a mechanism where each broadcaster is to outdo one another, is creating innovations. Someone would do a sky cam, someone would put a camera on the goalposts, someone will introduce the speaking to coaches at halftime, someone would put the camera in the change rooms, and so forth. And I look at that and I think about how is it now that they're creating or generating 12 billion, 13 billion per annum, okay, in broadcasting revenue alone. And we're excited at getting to 1 billion, but you know, it comes back to kind of the theme of leaders thinking into the future. That for me, Alex, and it goes beyond that. There are so many innovations that they've created that we can learn from, but that's one organization I would cite about how they look well into the future to then create what they need to now so that future generations benefit.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. You highlight a good point in the fact that in those US sports, they sell their media rights to all of the big networks, whereas we in football tend to do exclusive deals. It's very different, yet they're generating way more, even than the top football rights.
Which creates competitive tension the next time the rights deal comes up, because they have a relationship already with all of them, and now all of a sudden they're actually bringing more innovation and so forth. So,
very interesting, a perspective from across the water. Fred?
So for me, I would not look at one organization, but look at what different organizations are doing very well. When we went on to our transformation, we look at what the tech company were doing, because they were disruptive, they were innovative, they looked at differently on how to do things differently. So it was quite a good source of inspiration about how did they constructed a new culture, how was they resilient to change, how was they reactive. So it was really a very strong canvas that we could look at. But also within football, we can look that there's some organizations that are doing very good jobs. The AFC, if you look at the AFC transformation in the last 6-10 years, is positively dramatic. So I think we need to, I would take the phrase that Anton has mentioned, we need to be curious about what the other sectors are doing, what the other confederations are doing, what the other member associations are doing. Romania push very strongly about entrepreneurship. Okay, that's something for me that I was like, okay, that's really trigger a chord for us. So just we need to be curious about what the others are doing and exchange. Because for example, the entrepreneurship approach that you have, yes, I think it's a game changer. So be curious about what the others are doing. But for us, it was more the tech company and also our neighbors and our colleagues.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks. Razvan, you have some examples?
Thank you, Alex. Especially when you are in an international conference, you would like to pick up different examples that maybe are very well known at the global level, especially because every one of us is faced to the big, let's say, has this opportunity to look to the big brands. But I would like to be a little bit disruptive and to follow my presentation yesterday and to introduce you the biggest company from Romania in a very specific industry, in bricolage, so materials for construction. I suppose that every one of you, in a way, has to be aware about the big brands. Leroy Merlin, Hornbach, Baumax, this kind of international companies. But in Romania, it's completely different. And everything is coming from the financial crisis in 2008, 2007, 2008, when all the big corporations, they stopped to invest in Romania especially in the bricolage, because they didn't know how the future will look. And we had an entrepreneur in that period of time who bet on this industry. Now, this company, and the name of the company is Dedeman, is the biggest company in Romania. In less than 20 years, they won any fight against any international company, and I suppose that it doesn't matter from which country you are coming in Asia, you know how difficult it is to fight against the international companies. And now this company has the biggest number of the employees, the biggest level of revenue. Very soon, during the coming months, they will go outside of Romania. They will enter also in new markets in Europe. They already created a holding, trying to open also to open the business in other industries, and so on. So, in my point of view, because it makes sense what I presented to you yesterday, this could be also a very disruptive company. Because otherwise, if we are looking only to the big entities, maybe it could be too difficult for us to achieve these kind of results. But when we realize and we understand much better the context and we see that somebody like us was successful in a very, very competitive environment, like it's football. Yeah, because also football is very competitive. If every one of us will imagine or will feel that you cannot win, and it doesn't matter how many games you will play against Germany or England, just to give you an example from our confederation, maybe you don't have to run or to work too hard. But we have some examples that sometimes you can win against Germany. We did it twice at the level of under 19. And a few years ago, nobody believed. And also we can identify, I suppose, in every other country, different examples. So sometimes I think that we have to explore more the realities that are close to us, not to go only far away. You know, it's the same with the love. Every time we love a woman, that is much far away than us. So, thank you, Alex.
Okay. Thanks. Kenya?
Okay, well, it's weird not to mention about football when you're sitting here in this room. So, of course, in sports or in football, you have FIFA, and AFC is one of the greatest organizations. But however, I just eye contact with Jacqueline just now, so I just have to mention about Netflix because we're from this generation. I think they have a very good move. During the before the COVID time, in Laos, we couldn't access to the Netflix. But then during the COVID time, before COVID we cannot, but then during the COVID time, they expand the territory, I think, and then we can access to Netflix. But some other streaming we still cannot. So I think this is very good, the game changer for all of us. I don't go to the cinema anymore. I don't get to eat popcorn at the cinema because I watch the I watch the movie online, even offline when I'm on the plane. So this is a very game changer. I really like the idea of them to adapt themselves into the current situations and everything is going on around in this world because things going so fast and then we don't have time. We watch movie in the car, in the bus, in the plane, and some other things. I think some of the business, they also doing things the same that with this pace that we are going through in everyday life.
Great example from outside of football. Again, Datusri.
Yeah, thank you. I was sitting and just thinking, what is greatness for us at the end of the day? Because for each and every one of us, great could mean different things, But I believe that if one is to achieve greatness, then it has to be achieved without compromising on values and principles. We always see greatness of a company by the success probably of the financial statements that they produce or results, for example, if we are football, results on the pitch. But I believe if this success on financial matters or like what Fred said, tech companies have done very well in the stock market, if we consider them great, then we need to look at how did they achieve this greatness? Did they achieve at the expense of somebody's vision and somebody's leadership and somebody's plans? Or did they achieve by compromising on values and compromising on principles? And this is very important. And success can differ very much on what you want to achieve. Okay? Success for a parent could be when the child takes the first steps. That's already a success. And success could mean just getting a C in your grade, whereas success for somebody else must be an A. So we need to define what is greatness first. I'm not going back to the question. But for us at the organization that we are talking about, football, Kanya mentioned FIFA, UEFA. FIFA puts up the best show on earth. We know that, the World Cup. Do we then say FIFA is successful? Do we really want to go into below the success and find out whether, as an organization, is FIFA really successful? What are the parameters of success? If you look at UEFA, yes, we know the Champions League, we know the Euro, put up great shows. But does that mean that UEFA is a very successful? What is the criteria for success? We look at AFC. We have put up a great show of the Asian Cup, and we are proud of the Asian Cup. Can we conclude that AFC as an organization, I want to believe as a General Secretary that yes, we are a great organization because we take care of our members. And I like what Fred said about transaction, and I used to talk a lot with Wahid. Where's Wahid? We always talk about, when we talk about football, it's about relationship. And relationship cannot be transactional. Never be transactional. Because if a relationship is transactional, then it's not based on trust. And trust and transaction will collide with each other. What is transactional? I give you something, you have to support me. That's transactional. I give you something, you support me. I'm always providing you something. No, it cannot last forever. Because one day, the gravy train may stop, and then what happens? You do not support me anymore just because I didn't give you something? No. Relationship must always be built on trust. That's like the foundation. And if that relationship on trust can be built, then we can build together a great organization. That's the foundation of building a great organization, that is trust in the relationship. If AFC, between the members, between the administration and the executive committee, administration and the leadership, member associations among themselves, regional associations among themselves, and regional associations with their members, staff members with the leadership. It's all about relationship built on trust that would then drive the organization to be great. Now, we cannot compare football organization to companies. Never compare. Never want to be like a company. We cannot, because we are bound by statutes. We are restricted by decisions that have to go through committees. There's a lot of, I would say, I do not want to say restrictions, but I would say a lot of check and balances that a company may not have. A company may not have. Because everything boils down to the CEO, and if the CEO does not deliver, the CEO is fired. Whereas here, you can ask in AFC, yeah, you can say the General Secretary is the head of the administration, but empowerment is given to all my directors, to my Deputy General Secretaries, to deliver the vision and the mission of the AFC. So what makes a great organization? I would still come back to what I said, the people. I said the asset is the people, and the people are built on relationship, the foundation of trust. And if we can get that, then we can say that we are a great organization. Even if we don't win the next World Cup.
Very good. Thank you. Well, I can't summarize. There are so many good points made there. I think I'm glad Fred mentioned AFC, because also when I was working in AFC and I was seconded from UEFA, I was trying to explain to them, and she said, what's great, the fact that you can put on a match, it's so complicated to get the delegate with 2 connecting flights, visas, and the weather, and to actually make the match go on with a signal to go to the TV company in itself is an achievement. And based on the budget, I think, 1 or 2 days ago, we saw the budget for ACE. I mean, the fact AFC is delivering 7, 8 different programs on such a small budget And you look at the overall budget, compare it to FIFA, for example, and you see what can be delivered in terms of competitions, in terms of development. This is how organizations, in my view, should be judged. The team as well, the member associations, the regional associations team is incredible. Now we heard it's being decentralized, but in terms of the knowledge, the contact, the relations, is much more detailed and developed than even what FIFA has, for example. But let's move on to a different question, and I want to ask you what you, and this is no particular order, so anybody can take the question. What do you feel, what do you face in your organization? And some of you have different hats, so just pick the one, for example, in the case of Kenya, it could be Lao or Razvan, Romania. What are the 2 or 3 biggest challenges that you face today, right now? Who would like to take that question? In your organization. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have many, but I let the others.
But you have to prioritize, focus, limit down to 1 or 2 or 3.
I think I may have more than you. There's probably 4 for us. I guess when I started 12 months ago, the first thing was relationships with our stakeholders. For too long, Football Australia has, you mentioned the word, Datuk Seri, has been transactional. And it doesn't align with me personally, ever. It's something that my heart and soul are completely against. And anyone that has known me for a long time knows that, and Jackie's on the board now as well, and it's something that the board has tried to address with James and the management team, because for decades it's been transactional. Not just externally, but internally, even with our clubs, our member federations and so forth. And we had to rebuild that trust. And the one way we had to rebuild that trust is probably the easiest way to build trust is to show vulnerability, okay? And how we did that was we went to our stakeholders and we were open. We were open with the parts we weren't proud of, with our weaknesses, and we exposed ourselves, our vulnerabilities to them, hoping that they wouldn't take advantage. And if you want to build trust quickly, that's the one way. If one person shows vulnerability and the other person doesn't take advantage of that, is one key way to say no problem, and then they started doing the same with us. And I think now our relationship with our stakeholders internally is better than it's been for a long time, because as an organization we identified, actually we looked inward and we were not proud of ourselves. And we're going to continue doing that, not only in Australia, but outside. That's one thing. Second thing is alignment. We didn't have alignment throughout our stakeholders, and it's something we're developing now, what we're calling our enduring principles. And what we wanted to define was 5 principles that whether you are a local club with 100 players or the national governing body, that you can contribute to these 5 what we call enduring principles. And I'll share them. One is better access to football for all. The second one is more football. The third one is better football. The fourth one is more people enjoying football. And the fifth one is winning football. Okay? And each level, again, whether it's a local club or a school that wants to play football or the national governing body, they can decide how they contribute to each of these things. And probably the last thing is building our roster. You know, we build rosters on the field, and it takes a long time. If you're a club, it takes transfer windows and so forth. For us, we're trying to build our roster, and we're continually doing it at an exco level, and all the way through management. And it's something that the board and the CEO of the GS is completely aligned with. We constantly want to bring in, the people who are grateful, who are curious, and who are disciplined into our business. And hopefully, if we can do that, then we can come some way to being an organization that, when we leave the business, we feel proud that we were part of that organization.
So, several challenges. Who else would like to highlight their main challenges currently?
So for us, first, the word challenge I don't really like personally because it implies that there's something negative. I will speak more about priorities. In our region, the priority is professionalization of the pitch. But we can't do it alone, so our priority also is to work with our member association to make it happen. We all face environment and contexts that can be difficult, but really for us is to approach it in a way to say, don't look at your challenges, look at what you want to transform, look at what priority you want to achieve, because otherwise, in football, we always face difficulty. I mentioned it yesterday when I presented, but Datuk Seri made me smile when you introduced to say you have to be ready for change because, the flight has been cancelled or there's a flood somewhere. So it's just to keep priorities and to really focus on what we want to achieve. And for us, the priority is professionalization of the pitch. But it doesn't imply that we will focus only on that. A lot of great work has been done already football-wise in our confederation. So to continue the business as usual in football development, high performance. But if we want football to succeed, the next priority is to professionalize how we manage football.
Okay, great. Thanks, Fred. Razvan?
I will try to pick up a sporting matter. So, yesterday we discovered together that Romania is doing very well at the level of the A-national team under 21. I can share with you that also we are doing very well at the level of under 19, and in Europe it's very difficult to qualify for a final tournament in under 19, taking into consideration that the format is 7+1. So only 7 teams are going at the level of under 19 to the final tournament, +1, the host nation. So the biggest challenge for us in this moment is how we can be sure that we will increase the sporting performance of the A national team, improving the predictability of better results at the youth level. And why? Because we are totally unsatisfied with the results at the level of under 17. So nothing is perfect in Romania. What we discovered, and I would like to share with you some mistakes that we did, and also what is the pathway that we are looking into the future, how to solve this issue. Sometimes as managers, we are doing the next mistake. We are spending too much time on the solutions instead of problems. So sometimes what I discover about myself, maybe you are not doing this mistake, I spent in the past, when we spoke about this topic very specifically, the under 17 national team, 90% of the time to find the right solution. And only 10% to discover the problem. What were the solutions that we discovered in the past? And immediately I will move to the, let's say, to the conclusions for the future. We changed the coach. We are totally unhappy and we changed the coach. Secondly, we increased the number of the games and we said, okay, better international exposure maybe will help the players. We changed the style of play. We started to build up from the goalkeeper. We changed the format from 4-3-3 to 4-2-3-1, and so on. But the results didn't improve so well. We sent even the coaches outside in the Western nations to see how the kids in the Western nations are trained. Not enough. What we discovered when we said to ourselves, look guys, we have to make a switch. We have to look to the real problem. We have to analyze much better the context and not looking to the solution. What we started to do, first of all, we discovered that our coaches are not well prepared to train the young players. Like in every country, when we have to provide the licenses, it doesn't matter if it's B, A, or Pro license, everyone is getting the same knowledge. And we said, look, if you train a child by 14 years old or 15 years old, you have to receive a different other information, different know-how. And completely, we change our approach. We introduce two specific licenses, B youth and A youth. And automatically, we started to see some improvements. Another solution that we discovered, when we compare with the Western nations, because even if Romania is coming from the central side of Europe, we want to compete against the Western nations. And we discovered that until 14 years old, we are very well. We are winning all the competitions where the Romanians are going. But at level of under 17 or even under 19, or even Champions League final, we don't have Romanian players. But the same kids that lost against the Romanians at 13 years old or 14 years old, they are playing finals of Champions League. And what we did, we started to increase the number of the games, but from under 11 to under 15, to be sure that when they will make the step forward at the level of under 17 national team, they will accumulate more games. And not only during summer, because also the winter in Romania, not like in Mongolia, because I discovered how tough is the winter in Mongolia, but also the winter in Romania is very tough. We cannot play, we cannot use our pitches in January and February. And we started to build up artificial turf pitches and increasing the number of the games during the winter. But not outside because it's too tough to play, it's too difficult, but inside. And we created, and through these interventions, now we have the same number, our kids have the same number of the games like the kids in the Western nations. We went even more further, because every one of us knows that from the sporting perspective, you have to train a child, or player, it doesn't matter the age, from four perspectives: technical, tactical, physical, and mental. But we didn't do anything from the mental perspective. And we started to implement, and we started to do it, psychological tests. But for sure, the coaches are not allowed to receive the results, because maybe they will say, look, this player doesn't fit in my team. No, we used the psychological test that we implemented to see what we have to do, what we have to assist every player to improve his or her performance. So completely different approach. And also, we started to look on the figures. How many Romanians are living in Romania? How many Romanians are living in the country? How many outside? And we discovered that 25% of us are living outside the country. Why not to go after the kids living outside? But for sure, we discover that they don't speak Romanian, some of them. So now, to integrate them, they have somebody who will teach him or her, to learn Romanian. So to feel totally inclusive. And I can continue with all this kind of approach, but it was a completely shift what we did. So we started to spend more time to study the problem instead to study the solution. And if you are enough smart, intelligence, if you are enough empathic to listen everyone, you will discover the real problem and the solution will come very, very easy. So don't enter in a problem with the solution already discovered.
Oof, thanks very much. Lots of challenges there. Kanya?
So many, but well, since we're here in the leadership program conference, so I just gonna pick just one. It's the leadership challenge. Well, actually, Laos is a very small country, small federation. Everyone we recruit or everyone who work with Football Federation, we have passion. We love football. We so emotion. We're so passionate about it. But however, when it comes to professional or the skills, the leadership is one of the things that we still lack of. We are in the culture that we're so afraid of making mistakes. We're so afraid of own the mistake ourselves. Rather, own the mistakes and then learn from the mistakes and then move forward. we're afraid of making decisions. So this is one of the key skills that you need to have when it comes to leadership. Anta mentioned yesterday that the leadership is not just for the presidents or general secretaries, but also it needs to own by those who hold the roles of managers, directors, coaches, captains, and all that. So this one we still lack of, and is still the area that we still need to improve. And thanks to AFC that now we are having the leadership program that we also keep sending our staff to learn and to explore, and hopefully in the future we will have better leadership capabilities within our organizations.
Thanks very much. That was true.
I'll list a couple, but not in priority, just as it comes to my mind. I think the first challenge we are facing at the AFC is, I'm sure that you all know, we have the most number of countries that are not able to host matches. Okay, most number of MAs that are not able to host matches at home. And therefore, we need to help them find neutral venues, or they find neutral venues. This is for us always a huge challenge, I would say. Of course, another challenge would be the vast continent that automatically provides the challenge to find the right format for our teams. Because as you know, we have teams that have to travel 24 hours to reach another destination, to play a single match and then fly back and then play in their own domestic league. And not only teams, but also referees have to do the same. So finding the right balance of formats is also a challenge for us, because we also need to satisfy the needs of the bigger teams who have a very professional league, but also at the same time try to assist our developing member association to close the gap. So we cannot punish one at the expense of the other. So that's a challenge for us in trying to find right formats as well. The third thing I would say is, of course, finance. I cannot forget finance, because we work on a very tight budget, always. And the challenge is always to see how we can increase our revenue, but not compromising on our delivery. We never fail to cut short on some of our deliveries just to fit our budgets. No, we always want to deliver better. We always want to increase prize money. We always want to make sure that our teams are getting enough matches, because we also have an ambition for our teams to do well at the international stage, at the world class, at the world level. So we cannot deprive them of the platform of competitions, and therefore we need to always deliver top-class competition. And top-class competitions means we need money. And this is always a challenge at the AFC, because as you know, but we always try not to talk about it, a lot of Asian money, we are a very benevolent continent. We donate a lot to UEFA through our marketing, and UEFA is always benefiting from Asia's money.
And we are very happy.
Yeah, it's a fact. It's a fact that Asia contributes to the revenue of UEFA through our sponsors, our television rights, and so on. It's a fact. But that's a challenge for AFC. How do we then improve our product? How do we then reform our competitions so that we have a better product to attract sponsors to bring back some of this money to Asia? And that's why we revamped our club competitions. We make sure that our national team competitions are very attractive for our sponsors and so on. And probably I would stop with one more. I'm always looking at the clock. Trying to balance the needs, excuse me, trying to balance the needs of our member associations in a very, I would say, fluid environment that is Asia. We heard a fantastic presentation from the NC chair of Pakistan. Don't forget, we also have an NC in Maldives. We are always having this, we are always providing support to our member associations to ensure that they are stable, because without stability, they cannot develop football in their country. Okay? And this is where our member associations team is always, we are finding ways to ensure that our member associations are stable, because only with a strong and stable member association, we will have a strong and a stable AFC. And that is something that we always conscious about, to make sure that our members are always having the right governance structure, having the right support from the AFC, so that they can continue their work. Unfortunately, a lot of member associations still are facing a lot of pressure from within their stakeholders or country, and that provides a sense of instability. I'm not telling all, and this is something that we are also facing the challenge to ensure that they are stable all the time, so that they can deliver their vision and play in our competitions. We're very happy that in most of our competitions, we have a very, very good participation, sometimes even 46 out of 47, and sometimes even 47 out of 47, even though our member associations also face their own challenges financially or instability within their own country. Thank you.
Well, many challenges. I think we have time for one more question to the panelists. However you define greatness, as that's everyone has their own definition. However you define it, when you're thinking about building your organization and leading it, what makes football different to other sports and to business, government? What is different? What is specific about football when you're thinking about building and leading your organizations? This is an open question to whoever would like to take it.
Well, if we're talking about the difference between football and normal organizations, obviously we have passion, emotion in football. And other organizations or other firms, maybe they buy and sell, you get the benefits, you get the revenue into your company, you're successful. But then in football, even though you have the full house stadiums, you sell all the broadcasts, you earn so much money in your pocket, but then at the end of the day, the results, you lost. I'm sorry. For example, one good example, Manchester United, one of the richest clubs in the world. Are they successful now? It depends on how you define it, like Dato Seri mentioned. It depends on your definitions of successful. And also, like for example as well, in Laos, we open the stadium, playing Vietnam or Thailand. We always sell sold out stadiums, full house. It looks successful from the picture. But if we lost, everyone got angry at federation, everyone got angry at the coach. So there are so many elements involved in football, coaches, players, fans, sponsors, and all this. So I think it's totally different. We can't really compare.
Mm-hmm.
I think football organizations, unfortunately AFC as an organization does not have a football team. So we don't have the pressure of on-field performance per se with results. But as far as I know, member associations are always are always being judged by their last match. You're always judged by the last match, and that makes the organization plan a lot for the short term. Yeah, they have an eye on the long term, but they are all the time putting out fires, doing damage control, just so that they have success in the next match, in the next tournament. This makes it different from I believe from the other sport, But I also want to touch on what Kanya said. Football is all about emotions, okay? And that's why the fans are asking you to deliver for the next match, because they are very emotional. Football fans are different from rugby fans or cricket fans, or I must say that because I'm General Secretary of Football Association. But still, football is a very, very, very emotional sport, and many people, including leaders, think with their heart most times. Okay? Because the sport itself drives you to think with your heart most time, and this is where we make a lot of mistakes. Sometimes we need to think with our mind as well, or we need to balance the passion together with our mind. But unfortunately, a lot of fans out there, a lot of media out there are always thinking with their heart, because football is a very, very, very emotional sport. And that, I think, is probably the biggest difference. They all say football has a lot of money, but money cannot buy success all the time.
It's always curious to see super successful business people come into football and they find it so hard to succeed. And Fred?
I think the particularity of football is, yes, we have to deal with businesses. Yes, we have to be successful financially. We have to integrate business approach. But fundamentally, we have a social license. Football changes community. Football has an impact in our countries. It has an impact on the young girl and young boy. So that's adds the complexity, because not only we have to be, and I agree with, again, with Dato, so I will think that I agree always with Datak, but we have to be successful, whatever the success is, but behind it, there's a social interest about football. With football, you can change lives. We've seen it. We experience it ourselves. And this brings another set of complexity, because there's an interest from government that football works well, because football will have a social impact. Our colleague from the UN mentioned that in cases that he has seen, football brought back the kids to school. And that's the complexity, because if you're a company, often the social impact or the social license that you have is an afterthought, or it's something that could be done after, because they want to drive their success. Us, we have to combine all of that. And it means that the number of stakeholders we have to work with become very complex. You've got the governments that have interest, you've got your fans that have interest, you've got your own stakeholders that have interest, your players. So that's the complexity and the big difference that I think between football and the corporate world.
Very good, thanks. Any other comments from the panelists to answer?
You know, listening to everyone now and trying to reflect and rationalize it, there's something unique about everyone in this room. You know, I think we're all very competitive. You know, Datuk Seri mentioned, you know, we're measured by the last game. I actually think there's I don't think it's a problem, but I think we're all addicted to that exhilaration in here, right? I think if any one of us sat down and just played cards or marbles, we would be as competitive as well. And because of that, we try to, like we put all our energy and attention into everything, on the field and off the field. We want to be the best at broadcasting, at sponsorship, at government relations. And this is, I guess, what I'm trying to say is, it's at this point that as leaders, we have to, when we're making decisions or considering a decision, is the decision we're making the popular decision or the right decision? Because they're never the same. This is something that you know, I've experienced myself. And a lot of times we're faced with different considerations or problems, and people will come up with a range of maybe solutions. Some of them are more about being popular, at least outwardly, you know, something that's going to push away any kind of criticism. And some of the options are the right decisions. So I'm always challenged by, for us, the difference. And I always ask, I mean, James is in the room and Jackie, we always say, okay, is this the popular decision or is it the right decision? Because they're seldom the same. If they were the same, it would be an easy decision to make. So that I think is something that maybe, at least for me, I'm always confronted by the complexity of and try to check myself on.
Okay, thanks very much. Razvan, we've run out of time, but please, if you have any...
I would like to
additional points.
underline two perspectives, the good one and the bad one. The bad one is that it's harder to lead a sport organization, especially a football organization, than any other organization in the public sector or private sector. Due to the fact that we are under this pressure in terms of the public scrutiny. Look to the public sector. I'm coming from Romania. The communist regime collapsed in the 90s, but from the 90s until this year, we are not able, like country, to unite all the cities with highways. And the same political parties are running the country. Okay, we change the liberal with the social at every new term. So the public pressure was not there to deliver what they should deliver. In the private sector, the same. If you are the CEO of any organization and if you are coming with a very clear strategy and the shareholders will endorse you, you don't have to care about anything. You have just to work day by day and to achieve the figures, nothing more. You don't care so much about what the clients are saying, because the clients, if they are unhappy, they are going to other shop or to other supplier and so on. So this is the reason why our job is very, very difficult. And I would say that it's like a holding activity. You don't do only one activity. You have to sell sponsorship, you have to sell tickets, which is completely different, yeah? You have to develop a technical strategy. You have to lobby the government. You have to engage with the clubs, yeah? All your stakeholders have to be aligned and to be around you. At the same time, you have to be aligned with the vision of the international sport organization, AFC, UEFA, FIFA. You don't know what they will do in one day. Maybe they will be disruptive and so on. So, in my point of view, it's very, very hard to run a football federation. But, because I mentioned to you two perspectives, the good one and the bad one, I would like to conclude with the good one. If you are successful in football management, you can achieve the greatness in the public sector or in the private sector. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And thanks to everybody. Are there any final points any of the panelists would like to make? As we've reached the end, we're in injury time now. If not, I would like to thank you for your insight into how to build and lead great organizations. And thanks to all of you, thanks to all of the participants as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex, and our esteemed panelists, Dato Seri, Ms. Kanya, Razvan, Frederick, and Enter. Please, ladies and gentlemen, please give them another round of applause. Thank you so much. You may return to your seats, and Alex, please remain on the stage for the pennant presentation. Thank you very much. We would like to invite AFC President Dasho Ugyen Sichok to the stage. AFC Vice President Dasho Ugyen Sichok to the stage for our pennant presentation. Thank you very much. You may return to your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now take a very short break and reconvene at 12:35 p.m. Please be sure to return to the hall on time as we have a certificate presentation ceremony coming up next. Thank you.
This is the 18th edition of the AFC Asian Cup. 5 cities hosting 51 matches across the next. Great looking ball in, simple chance, control of it, and Jackson Irvine taking control of the game.
There's the opening goal for Japan. Takumi Minamino. It's looped in. An incredible goal.
Hong Kong, China level, just 3 minutes after the break. It is the second round of group matches starting, and here is the group start. Ahmed Yahya, one real option, he's found that option! That is absolutely extraordinary play. And Indonesia have the lead. Into the area, placing it into the bottom corner, and he ran and got the opening goal. And he went down! 5 minutes into injury time. Oman have the lead. And the debutants to that wide, he's still got players on. But Faisal turns the ball in. The chance looked to have gone for Malaysia. Lebanon first attack in the second half. Brilliant stuff. A quality finish. Now then, Kojo has scored, and this one will count. Oh, great strike! Turn! There's two great Asian. Oh, the substitute! Oh my goodness me! It is a magnificent way to conclude a magnificent comeback. It's a better looking ball in. It's all about the quality on the corner. Jordan are into the semi-final of the AFC Asian Cup. The match continues. It will be Son! It is stunning! A captain becomes a hero. And Iran! And they are into the semi-finals. Chipped into the net! And the dream of a tournament is still alive. The first semi-final from the magnificent Ahmed bin Ali Stadium. It's a superb finish from the Azanel main match. Korea punished for giving it away. Akram Afif again cutting inside. Akram Afif. It's the final of the AFC. And Akram Afif is a hat-trick hero for Qatar. And Qatar are the AFC Asian Cup champions 2023.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Thanks for joining us here, everybody. It's a great pleasure to see so many of you.
I joined with club football. It's your job. International football is enjoyed and it's a privilege and an honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, appreciate if you could take your seats as we will be starting the certificate presentation ceremony soon. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, appreciate if you could return to your seats as the certificate presentation ceremony will be starting shortly. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats and we will be starting the certificate presentation ceremony soon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We would now like to take a moment to present to our distinguished participants and guests with their certificates. As your name is called, please come to the front of the stage. Before we begin, I would like to invite the AFC General Secretary, Dato Sir Windsor John, to join us on stage to present the certificates on behalf of the Asian Football Confederation. would like to invite FIFA Council member and AFC Executive Committee member, Ms. Kanya Kiaumani. AFC Executive Committee member, Ms. Mahfuza Akhtar Kiron. AFC Executive Committee member, Ms. Susan Shalabi Molano. AFC Executive Committee member, Ms. Mishgona Mahmadalieva. AFC Executive Committee member, Police General Somyot Pompamo. AFC Executive Committee member, Mr. Ravshan Irmatov. AFC Executive Committee member, Mr. Dastanbek Konokbaev. AFC Executive Committee member, Dr. Shaji Prabhakran. Moving on, can we have CEO and General Secretary of Football Australia, Mr. James Johnson. President of Football Association of Brunei Darussalam, Mr. Haji Faisal bin Haji Yusof Pattaya. Executive Committee member of Football Association of Brunei Darussalam, Mr. Pangeran Waslimin bin Pangeran Satyajaya Pangeran Haji Abdul Momin. Deputy General Secretary of Football Federation of Cambodia, Mr. Ranet Sokha. Executive Committee member of Football Association of Indonesia, Mr. Muhammad Yazid Sungkar. Acting General Secretary of Lao Football Federation, Mr. Chantavong Sirimanotam. President of Football Association of Malaysia, Tan Sri Dato Haji Hamidin bin Haji Muhammad Amin. General Secretary of Football Association of Malaysia, Dato Nur Azman bin Haji Rahman. General Secretary of Myanmar Football Federation, Mr. Tun Tun Ang. President of Philippine Football Federation, Mr. John Anthony Gutierrez. General Secretary of Philippine Football Federation, Mr. Angelico Gabriel Mercader. President of Football Association of Singapore, Mr. Bernard Tan. Acting General Secretary of Football Association of Singapore, Mr. Gerard Christopher. President of the Football Association of Thailand, Mrs. Nuampan Lamsam. General Secretary of the Football Association of Thailand, Momloang Kitibodi Pravi. General Secretary of Football Federation of Timor-Leste, Mr. Gregorio Correa. President of Vietnam Football Federation, Dr. Tran Co Tuan. General Secretary of Vietnam Football Federation, Mr. Yong Nhiep Quoy. President of Afghanistan Football Federation, Mr. Mohammad Yusuf Karga. General Secretary of Football Federation, Islamic Republic of Iran, Mr. Hedayat Mombeni. First Vice President of the Kyrgyz Football Union, Mr. Nurdin Bukuyev. Vice President of the Kyrgyz Football Union, Mr. Kanatbek Abdi Kadirov. General Secretary of Tajikistan Football Federation, Mr. Forkhadjon Ahmed Janov. Acting General Secretary of Football Federation of Turkmenistan, Mr. Maksad Said Guliev. General Secretary of Uzbekistan Football Association, Mr. Avaz Maksumov. Vice President of Chinese Football Association, Ms. Sun Wen. President of Guam Football Association, Mr. Valentino Sangil. General Secretary of the Football Association of Hong Kong, China Limited, Mr. Charles Cheong. President of Japan Football Association, Mr. Tsuneyasu Miyamoto. General Secretary of Japan Football Association, Mr. Kazuyuki Yukawa. President of Korea Football Association, Mr. Chong Mong-gyu. General Secretary of Macau Football Association, Mr. Chan King-ho. President of Mongolian Football Federation, Mr. Bol Molomjam. General Secretary of Mongolian Football Federation, Mr. Dakbadoch Tovuharo. President of Northern Mariana Island Football Association, Mr. Jerry Tan. General Secretary of Northern Mariana Island Football Association, Mr. Ross Zapanta. President of Bangladesh Football Federation, Mr. Tabit Awal. General Secretary of Bangladesh Football Federation, Mr. Imran Hussain Tushar. President of Bhutan Football Federation, Dasho Ugen Sitchop. General Secretary of Bhutan Football Federation, Mr. Ugyen Wangchok. President of All India Football Federation, Mr. Kalyan Chaubey. General Secretary of All India Football Federation, Mr. Anil Kumar Prabhakaran. Normalization Committee Chairperson of Football Association of Maldives, Mr. Ahmad Zuhor. Acting General Secretary of Football Association of Maldives, Mr. Mohamed Jaushan Sharif. General Secretary of All Nepal Football Association, Mr. Kiran Rai. Normalization Committee Member, Pakistan Football Federation, Mr. Haris Azmat. Normalization Committee Member of the Pakistan Football Federation, Mr. Saud Azim Hashimi. General Secretary of Football Federation of Sri Lanka, Mr. Eraj Wimala Surya. Vice President of Bahrain Football Association, His Royal Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Ali Al Khalifa. General Secretary of Bahrain Football Association, Mr. Rashid Abdullah Al Zabi. President of Iraqi Football Association, Mr. Adnan Darjal. General Secretary of Jordan Football Association, Mrs. Samar Nassar. General Secretary and CEO of the Oman Football Association, Mr. Mohammad Al Yahmadi. General Secretary of Qatar Football Association, Mr. Mansour Al Ansari. President of Saudi Arabian Football Federation, Mr. Yasser Al Mishal. Vice President of Syrian Football Association, Mr. Abdul Rahman Al Khatib. General Secretary of Syrian Football Association, Mr. Mohammad Mazin Dakouri. General Secretary of United Arab Emirates Football Association, Mr. Mohammad Hazam Al Dahiri. President of ASEAN Football Federation, Major General Keith Samet. General Secretary of ASEAN Football Federation, Mr. Winston Lee. General Secretary of Central Asian Football Association, Mr. Ulubek Karimov. General Secretary of East Asian Football Federation, Mr. Yosuke Mihara. President of South Asian Football Federation, Mr. Kazi Salahuddin. General Secretary of South Asian Football Federation, Mr. Anwarul Haq. General Secretary of West Asian Football Federation, Mr. Khalil Al-Salem. President of the Romanian Football Federation and FIFA Council member, Mr. Razvan Burleanu. Chief Operating Officer of the Oceania Football Confederation, Mr. Frederick Guillermo. President of Football Australia, Mr. Anter Isaac. Normalization Committee Chairperson of Pakistan Football Federation, Mr. Harun Malik. Deputy Chairperson of Football Australia, Ms. Jacqueline Lee Jo. General Secretary of Korea Football Association, Mr. Chon Han-jin. General Secretary of Saudi Arabian Football Federation, Mr. Ibrahim Al-Qasim. Administrator of World Football Remission Fund, Mr. Alex Phillips. Deputy Director and Chief of Partnerships and Global Engagement at the United Nations, Mr. Robert Skinner. Director of T3 Group, Mr. Tom Bayer. AFC Development Committee member Mr. Kutaiba Al-Galaini. AFC Reform Task Force member Mr. Ahmad Reza Barati. Deputy General Secretary of Saudi Arabian Football Federation Mr. Ibrahim Al-Kaba. Deputy General Secretary of Saudi Arabian Football Federation, Mr. Majed Ali Al-Saqib. Senior Advisor of the Saudi Arabian Football Federation, Mr. Hisham El-Amrani. Chief Financial Officer and Board Member of the Saudi Arabian Football Federation, Mr. Abdullah Kaboha. President's Office Manager of the Saudi Arabian Football Federation, Mr. Abdullah Al-Tanian. General Secretary's Office Executive Assistant of Saudi Arabian Football Federation, Mr. Turki Al-Jilan. Chief Finance Officer of Guam Football Association, Mr. Un Sung Jang. From Japan Football Association, Ms. Elina Okumura. Japan Football Association, Ms. Mayu Ozawa. Japan Football Association, Ms. Mari Fuji. Chinese Football Association, Ms. Wang Luning. United Arab Emirates Football Association, Ms. Maita Al-Shamshi. United Arab Emirates Football Association, Ms. Shamsa Darwish Mohammed. Head of Competition Supervisors Thai League, Mr. Pairi Tanpairi. Qatar Football Association, Mr. Maksat Glitch Mamedov. President's Assistant of Football Federation of Turkmenistan, Mr. Latif Rejepov. Director of President's Office, Yemen Football Association, Mr. Mahir Ali Sakir. President's Advisor of Mongolian Football Federation, Mr. Engjafklan Sotbatar. President's Secretary of Iraqi Football Association, Mr. Mohammad Fadil Obaid Al-Rubai. President Office Media Officer of Football Association of Malaysia, Mr. Azizul Fahmi bin Ahmad Zabidi. Senior Accountant and Team Services of Bahrain Football Association, Mr. Adel Abbas Marzu Abdullah Ali Isa. FIFA Regional Office Lead, Mr. Essam Al-Suhibani. Football Association of Indonesia, Ms. Chut Ayu Rahimanita. President of Football Federation, Islamic Republic of Iran, Mr. Meditach. Mr. Meditach. And lastly, General Secretary of Guam Football Association, Mr. Joseph Sipida. Thank you very much, Tato Sari. Thank you to all distinguished participants and guests. The conference wouldn't have been possible without your engagement and enthusiasm. Now it's my honor to invite the AFC President, His Excellency Sheikh Salman bin Ibrahim Al Khalifa, for his closing speech.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for everything what you've done, Mr. Chong. We're happy here to be in Seoul. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for attending this conference. Of course, by the time we adjust our time zone to Seoul, now we have to fly back. So unfortunately, we would have loved to stay a few days longer. But thank you so much for all that you've done for all the people that have attended this conference. I would like to give a big thanks to all the speakers. I'm sure that the discussions that we had in the last 3 days were fruitful. And I think this is the purpose of this conference, is to sit and talk and see how we can develop this game even more in Asia. Football is not just a game. It affects us in every way. We talk about politically, economically, socially. So it's not just a football, it's not just a sport. So that's why this year's focus was about reform and governance. So we wanted to focus on how we put the proper structure in every home. Because without that, I don't think we will have the right foundation to do what's needed and to be successful, of course. We've seen a lot of nations, of course, becoming better, but because our focus is not just on one or two, we have 47 members. We need to make sure that the competition is always on the highest level. And when it's difficult, I think it makes us as officials more happy to see emerging nations competing against the big countries. And this is where solidarity comes as well. People always think that in Asia we have 6 or 7 countries that are always dominating and giving so much to the rest of the 47 countries. And this is where I would like to give thanks to all those countries, because they play an important role in the whole of the continent. Of course, I don't want to talk about the AFC, because it's thanks to you that put us where we are today. I would like to thank your trust and support that you've always, not to give me as a president, but to the AFC as a whole. My journey in the 11 years, of course, we encountered some difficulties, but in our unity, I think, we did so much better than others expected. So it's thanks to you, the Member Association, for the help and the support. Of course, without ado, I would like to thank the Saudi Arabian Federation for their support for this conference. We're looking forward next year, Yasser, to be in Saudi Arabia. And of course, the focus, the next 10 years, we have the 27 Asian Cup, and of course the World Cup in 34, which officially, hopefully, will be announced in December. So Asia is always in the picture. You've did us so much proud. The last World Cup in Qatar, I cannot speak highly of that event, because to me, it was one of the best World Cup. And it's not fair where no one has given the gratitude and, let's say, the thanks that the Qataris have shown us in that event. They deserve even more. It'll be difficult to see another one with the 32 teams. But I'm sure our aim is now in Saudi Arabia, 34 as well. We want to show that Asia can host the best events. And of course, the Asian Cup, last January as well. We broke all records, attendance, viewing, and this is something that we've put a benchmark where our Saudi colleagues as well has to break. But again, I would like to thank you all for being here with us, because in that 3 days within a conference, it's not like a congress where usually we have one day and it's so tight we can't have the time to see each other and talk. But I think within 3 days, it's good because we have a lot of members who have just come to get to know the others. And I would like to thank the administration as well for creating this event. And we look forward in choosing the right topic for next year as well. By visiting all the members, understanding what they like, what they need, we try to focus on a certain topic that will benefit everyone. But again, it's sad to come to an end of this conference and to see you all go, but hopefully I look forward in seeing you next year in the AFC Congress in KL next April. I wish you all the best, and I would like to thank particularly the Korean FA, Mr. Chung, for hosting us, the Saudi Arabian FA for sponsoring this event, and of course to the speakers, who I'm sure that all of us have benefited in the last 3 days in the discussion that we had. Thank you so much for attending this conference, and I look forward to seeing you in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for those thoughtful closing remarks. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It has been our pleasure having you with us. Please be informed that lunch will be served at Park Ballroom on level 5 of this hotel, and we look forward to seeing you in the next AFC event. Thank you so much.